How about now? Let's just make that the MacBook Pro microphone. You ought to be able to hear me better. It's not perfect, but if this microphone doesn't want to play today, then we'll go with the other microphone. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here. We are talking about the possible death of the Iranian president. And let's see, I'll turn this up a little bit. Maybe you can hear me a little better now. How about now? Better. Okay. People are saying better. Better, much better. Okay. Okay, so we're talking about the possible death of the Iranian president who was flying in a helicopter in northern Iran last night and went down in very mountainous and extreme territory in dense fog, and the rescuers have not been able to get to the crash site yet. And that right there tells us pretty much everything we need to know about this, because the government called it a hard landing. This is a good lesson on how much we can believe the Iranian government on anything, because to call it a hard landing is at this point, a euphemism for a crash. A hard landing is an actual thing, right? Let's see if I put some light up here. Hard landing is no, that's not working. Hard landing is an actual thing. As I explained last night on my live with CBN, a hard landing is when a helicopter comes in for landing and just lands harder than it should, and it's damaging to the aircraft, but doesn't destroy the aircraft. And the fact that this president was flying with another helicopter, there was more than one helicopter in the entourage. We know that from the video that the last video known of the president. And the fact that that second helicopter was not able to get to the place where the president's helicopter went down tells us pretty much everything we need to know. If the rescuers can't get to the helicopter, it crashed. And if the helicopter crashed, there's a good chance they hit a mountain and died. So I want to show you just some video here. This is the map showing the location of the crash. The reason I was showing this map last night is to point out that I was actually just in the province of Armenia, which is bordering northern Iran. So you see right at the top left of your screen where it says Armenia, and you follow the border lines down there, and Armenia comes all the way down and touches northern Iran, right between the area called Nakhichevan on the left and the country of Azerbaijan on the right. So I was in the Sunik province, which is right there. It's the province which touches Iran. And I will show you some video of what that looks like, if I can find what I did with it. That's not it. There we go. Here's some video that I took last October from the Armenian side of Iran. These are the mountains looking into the area where the president's helicopter crashed. You can see here these mountains are very extreme. These mountains are, easily covered with fog. It would be very easy to crash into one of these mountains. Okay, so and it's a beautiful area, very nice, but yeah, not hopeful for the Iranian president if he crashed into those. I'll also show you, this is taken from that same area of the fog rolling in that, again, I took last October when I was down there filming a documentary. That fog rolls in very quickly, and when it does, you can't see your hand in front of your face hardly. I mean, it is very, very thick. Okay? So that kind of, again, tells us everything we need to know. Now, what we're finding today, the updates we have so far, is that the rescuers were out overnight. You can see here some video of them searching. You can imagine they're not going to find much searching in very cold fog like that in the dark, and they were not able to reach the crash site. That means that the helicopter crashed in territory that's extremely hard to get to. It would be very difficult, even if there were survivors, for them to survive overnight, because likely up at those altitudes, the temperatures were down in the 30s, and they would have died of exposure out there. Thank you, MM. Very kind of you. Always good to see you on the chat, and all of you other regulars as well. Thank you very much. Yeah, serious fog out there. So here is, again, the map. Now, this is the helicopter, what the helicopter looked like that the president was in. I wanted you to notice a couple of things about this helicopter. It's a Bell 212 helicopter, which is two motor. It has two engines, two motor version of a Huey helicopter like they flew in the Vietnam War. Thank you, Christian News. Appreciate that. So that helicopter is essentially a souped-up Huey helicopter. It's got some improved avionics. It's got, it's a, like I say, updated version. But I want you to notice here, that helicopter only has two rotor blades. What that means is that these helicopters are not well suited for high altitude flying. A Bell 412 has four rotors on it and would be much better suited for high altitude flying. These are fairly old helicopters, at least probably 30 years old, I'd say. Now, you can keep a helicopter flying pretty much forever as long as you do the maintenance on it right. But and these helicopters are in use all over the world. I've flown in many Bell 212s and Bell 412s and Hueys, and they're, workhorses without a doubt. But flying in the mountains in the fog, yeah, not real good. Okay, and it sounds like they had it absolutely full to the gills with like 12 people. And that means a lot of weight, and yeah, they're not going to do well if they hit a mountain. Okay, so I saw a couple questions go by. I wanted to see if I could touch on those real quick. It'll be interesting to see what Israel does with the timing of the event. Sun says, well, Israel has already denied any involvement, of course. And they would, even if they had been involved, they would probably not admit to it. Especially, it's kind of considered poor form to take out the leader of another country, even if that country is your enemy. Now, this leader, President Raisi of Iran, is not the ultimate authority in Iran. The Ayatollah Khamenei is the ultimate authority. And question, why would they do such a stupid thing? I'm assuming you mean flying into fog at night in the mountainous area in a underpowered helicopter that's fully loaded. That does sound pretty stupid. But let's just put it this way. Accidents, as I said on last night's live, thank you very much, Jane. Accidents are rarely actually accidents. Accidents normally get constructed by a series of bad choices. So I'm going to construct a scenario here that could be possible for what happened last night. The president got held up in a meeting, and it was supposed to leave earlier in the day. And where they would have had more light was, held up. So they got started a little later than they meant to. The weather gets worse as the day goes on. And so the weather reports looked good for the time that they were supposed to fly, but then rapidly got worse later in the afternoon. And so, but the president wanted to go. He needed to get home. He needed to get back where he was going, whatever, so they made the decision to ignore that red flag and go ahead and get in the helicopter. Maybe there was a couple of extra people that wanted to get on board. The president still had some things to discuss with the governor of East Azerbaijan province, which incidentally, this caused some confusion last night. Azerbaijan is a country north of Iran that's not friendly to Iran, although they are Shiite Muslim. Sunni Muslim. The northeastern province of Iran is called East Azerbaijan province. It's not Azerbaijan, the country. It's part of Iran. They call it East Azerbaijan province because there are a lot of people of Azeri lineage, Azeri ethnicity that live in that area. That's part of the reason why Azerbaijan and Iran don't get along, because Iran has been pretty brutal and violent to those Azeris throughout its history. So, but let's say we're constructing this accident. So got started later than they planned to. The president maybe still had somebody he wanted to discuss some things with, or somebody, he was just being nice. And so, yeah, we'll throw a couple extra guys on the helicopter. The president's not going to be thinking about things like weight and balance that the pilots should be thinking about. And the pilots are probably going, we really weren't planning to have 400 extra pounds on the helicopter. But the president wants it, and so okay, what do we? You don't counteract the president. So we say okay, and then the weather got worse than they planned, and they ran in. They were almost where they were going, let's say, and so again they just ignored red flag after red flag after red flag, and they constructed an accident. That is how these things happen. Okay, so it's not a matter necessarily of being stupid. It's a matter of succumbing to the momentum of the mission, and we can't say no. And you can't counteract the top guy, even though the top guy doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to helicopters. And boom, the top guy goes down. All right, so let's see here. I thought I saw another. Yes, it's a Bell 212 helicopter, kind of Michelle, which is, like I said, kind of an upgraded Huey. It's two motors, two engines, so that means it's more powerful, but it still only has two rotor blades. And two rotor blades is not as good as four. So how many are faking death to get out of war crimes? Yeah, I don't think that's a thing here. They were returning from the opening of a dam, a project they did with Azerbaijan. Yeah, right up on the border. They have been actually doing some things with Azerbaijan, allowing Azerbaijan to do some things in Iran, trying to keep Azerbaijan from attacking Armenia. So in some way, Armenia is kind of involved in this just because the Armenians do not want the Azeris putting a highway and a pipeline through southern Armenia, because it would cut off their access to Iran. I mean, the Armenians and the Azeris do not mix well. They don't play together well. They never have. They're always almost at war. They're right up against each other. And the Azeris have been very aggressive and have killed many Armenians. That's why I was there in October, was because the Azeris were massing troops along the border with Syunik. They were firing into Armenia, and there was some great concern that the Azeris would attack Armenia along that border. So the Armenians don't want the Azeris down there. The Iranians, trying to defuse the situation, had gone to the government of Azerbaijan and had said, okay, if you want, you can truck natural gas and oil through northern Iran, around the Syunik province of Armenia, maybe even put a pipeline through there across Iran so that you don't need to attack Armenia. They were trying to kind of take that excuse away from Azerbaijan. And so that, them going up there and opening a dam project that they did jointly with Azerbaijan may have had something to do with that. It's amazing how all of this is just sort of intertwined, isn't it? So there's a Turkish drone. Now, I have some footage of that. Let's see if I can find that. There's the helicopter. There's, before it got dark last night, the rescuers, you can see how foggy it is. And they are not high up on the mountain yet. It gets worse as it goes up. These are people in Iran apparently worshiping or praying for their president. They were told to do so. They were asked to do so by the president's representatives. And there were also some people who were celebrating. There was a video on X last night of fireworks being set off in different places in Iran, celebrating the crash of the president. There was also some on Telegram, people that were posting memes of people dancing and happy, celebrating the death of a very bad man. People are asking, is he dead? That has not been confirmed yet. We are extrapolating based on what we know to say that it is very highly likely that he is dead. I was saying this right from the beginning last night because I just came from the area where the helicopter went down. It was roughly 60 miles from there. And so again, I'll show you some of these videos that I shot. This is the fog coming in that area. It rolls in very quickly. You can see how it just is inexorable. It just comes rolling across. This is something I shot last fall, right before. This, I think, was shot on October 7th, right, the day of the attack in Israel. This is the area where it happened. You can see these mountains here, very, very rugged mountains. This is the drone footage showing the crash site. Now, that is not a hard landing, folks. That is a crash. And obviously, very rugged area. They've had a lot of rain down there. That's why it's so green, much greener than normal. You can see the helicopter is completely destroyed. All that's visible of it is the tail section. And that means these people are dead. بالگرد به این سبک به این شکل تو منطقه سقوط کرده. دوستان خیلی زحمت کشیدن به لحظه بودن که بتونن این تصاویر رو ضبط بکنن. سپاسگزارم از همه کسانی که کمک کردن، کمک حال ما بودن در جمعیت تل الاحمر، در سازمان امداد جنوبی، در تیم پهپادی جمعیت تل الاحمر بسیار تشکر میکنم که زحمت کشیدن این تصاویر رو در اختیار ما دادن و این جستجو رو انجام دادن. Because of the extremity of the topography, and that's what we know. So that's a crash, folks. Oh, audio from the clip is louder than you. I got to turn that down. Okay, let's try that again. Let's see. There's the helicopter. There's the okay. There we go.
اینجا که می‌بینید دقیقاً محل سقوط این بالگردیه که متأسفانه اینجا سقوط کرده. دقیقاً این محل سقوطشه، این خود بالگرده که سقوط کرده و اینجا تصاویرشو.
Whoop, there we go. Okay, there we go. I shut the audio off on that. That is what you call a crash, folks. That is not a hard landing. And you can see there burned wreckage on the mountain. This is very steep. You can't see the angle of the mountain where it crashed, but it's likely that that thing just augured right in. So, yeah, pretty bad. Still video talking. Okay. Okay, so I'm looking for any other questions real quick. Now, what happens? So Wesley Morris says, I guess his reign of terror is over. For that particular president, yes, very likely. But very little will change in Iran because the Ayatollah Khamenei is the supreme leader. The president is more of a figurehead, and so nothing is going to change. Khamenei himself came out with a statement and said as much. He said that there would not be any. Can you leave that open? That light is actually helpful. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. The supreme leader said as much. He said nothing's going to change, and so what? Are you, she's crawling around. It's okay. It's your house. You can. My sweet Rubina. This is my sweet Rubina. This is her house that I'm in here. This is my son Nathan's wife. So, is this the head of the snake? James Stone says no. The head of the snake is Ayatollah Khamenei. Again, this is not going to change Iran's stance toward Israel. It's not going to stop the war. It might cause some unrest in Iran as they, have to find a new leader now. And obviously, there are a lot of people in Iran that are not happy with the current leadership. So, yeah, I mean, it certainly could be very, I guess, difficult in Iran, more difficult than usual. Iran is struggling economically. They now will have to hold new elections within 50 days. And so inside of the next 2 months, they're going to have a new president. Very likely that guy is going to be handpicked by the Ayatollah Khamenei. And so, unfortunately for the Iranians, very little is going to likely change. Okay. Now, how long has it been daylight over there? Well, right now it is 8:26 in the morning, and it gets light about 5:30 or so. So I Craig says, is it a 212 or a 412 or a 214? So Allison Craig says that. Allison, Reuters is reporting that it was a Bell 212 helicopter, which is a two-rotor, two-motor version of an upgraded version of an old Huey UH-1. A 412 would have four rotors and would have been more powerful, but again, since there were more than one helicopter there and the other helicopter did not immediately land, then we kind of know everything we need to know about whether or not anybody survived. Somebody in the comments is saying that they found 9 bodies. I do not see where they have reached the crash site yet, so I'm not sure where you're getting. There's a lot of, rumors floating around here, but I'm not seeing. All we're seeing is that there are no signs of life among the wreckage, and that was determined from a drone flown over the site, and they have not got the people to the site yet. There were, I think, something like 13 people on the helicopter, from what I'm told. Now, Amir just posted something with a photograph of people at the crash site. So there we go. We may have actually gotten our answer finally. This is, he says, there are no survivors. Amir Sarfati is reporting at least 3 rescuers died during the search. That could easily have happened in the night because people fall off cliffs. I was out hiking yesterday in similar topography, and one of our guys almost died in the middle of the daytime falling off a cliff. It's very easy to do, and if you're out there at night in the fog, I could see where guys could just stumble right off the cliff. Yes, so there's a photograph that Amir posted of the mountainside where these guys went in. It was extremely steep. It was rocky. obviously it was socked in with fog and they just crashed into a mountain. So Janice Brown, there's no faking that. If a helicopter crashes into a mountainside, there's no need to fake your own death because it actually happened. So yeah, they will call him a martyr, of course, because if you're not a martyr, it's much harder to get to heaven in Islam. You understand how in Islam, it's all about dying the right way, which is fighting the infidel. If you do not die fighting the infidel, then Allah will weigh your good deeds against your bad deeds, and whichever one stacks up the highest, that's the direction you go. If you die fighting the infidel, then you're into heaven. That's how it works for Islam. And so, of course, they're going to call him a martyr. They're probably going to blame Israel for this. And we may, like I was saying last night, we may actually see Lynn Cornell, thank you for that. She said, I'm trying to catch these as they go by. There was 2 important men. Iran is down 2 guys. No, Iran is down about 9 guys. The governor of the province that they were flying in, the representative of the Ayatollah Khamenei, the President Raisi, and a couple of other important officials were on that helicopter, and they're all gone. So, yeah, very likely that they will blame Israel for this, and we might see further attacks on Israel. Not like Hezbollah and Hamas needed more excuse to attack, but yeah, they're very likely to attack even more. So we'll see what happens today. I've been watching the let's see here. I've been watching the Shofar app today, and so far the last attacks on Israel on the Shofar app were 7 hours ago in Metula, which is up in the north. So those were, well, we don't know exactly what they were. They're just alerts up there. Yesterday, along the confrontation line in northern Israel, which is, where the majority of the alerts come from these days, we had, let's see, well, there was one out of the Gaza envelope yesterday. Then confrontation line. There was more than a dozen along the northern border, drone alerts and rocket alerts along the northern border. So the number of alerts and drones and rockets being fired out of Lebanon into Israel has gone up pretty dramatically. I will very likely go back to Israel this coming week and do some more reporting from there. The fighting in Gaza is actually more severe and more intense now than it has ever been in this war, even since the very beginning. So, and it's happening in the north. This is very interesting. Most of the fighting that's happening in Gaza right now is not happening in Rafah. It's actually happening in Jabalia up in the north, which is one of the refugee camps. I always have to put that in scare quotes. And there's some very intense fighting going on, more tunnels that they did not find the first time, more Hamas fighters that they did not kill the first time. Yesterday, they killed more than 200, the IDF claims, more than 200 IDF fighters yesterday alone, and most of those in the north. So there is some fighting going on, limited fighting happening in Rafah. But the majority of the fighting that's happening in Gaza right now is happening in the north, and it is, according to the reports from the IDF, more intense and more severe. They've had an uptick in IDF casualties because of that, and so this is not anywhere close to over in Israel. And this event that just happened in Iran will very likely result in even more fighting from Iran's proxies. But chaos all around. So, wow, a lot of crazy stuff happening. Let's see if we have any more questions, and then I've got to get going because I've got a group of guys that are going to be waiting on me for breakfast here pretty quick. Has Chuck mentioned what could happen now in Iran and the Middle East? Colleen Priest, what is going to happen now is the vice president is going to take over as president for a temporary amount of time, less than 2 months, until they have new elections. They have to have new elections now in Iran in the next 50 days. And very likely the successor to the president will be handpicked by the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and nothing will change regarding their stance toward the United States or their stance toward Israel. So, let's see here. It has to be in caps, apparently. Yeah, Mark Harvey, if you have a question, please put it in all caps because there are a lot of comments going by and it's hard for me to catch them. Why do Christians get surprised or need to respond via media on these matters? Okay, I saw you post that before, but to me that sounds like a rhetorical question, not an actual question for me, because I don't feel like Christians are getting surprised on these matters. We are certainly commenting on them, no doubt. But Mark, I don't. To me, that's just sort of a question that doesn't require an answer. That's sort of obvious. Chuck, Deborah, South Africa. You reap what you sow. Oh, yes. Wikipedia says he's dead. Okay, yeah. So I think we can confidently say at this point that the president of Iran, President Raisi, has died on the side of a mountain in northern Iran, very close to Armenia, and along with at least 9 others that were on the helicopter with him as they were returning from a dedication of a dam project that was done together with Azerbaijan. And so, let's see. What is Israel saying about this, please? They're saying they didn't have anything to do with it. That's all they're saying. We are in the end time generation. Be careful in Israel. Thank you very much. Thank you, Raging Wolf. I appreciate that. If you guys want to follow the other things that I'm doing, just not just the live reporting that I'm doing, but want to follow the tours that we're giving here in Armenia, some of the amazing scenery that we've been seeing. I'm putting a lot of pictures up over at chuckholton.com. So you can go to my locals page there. You can subscribe for free, or you can actually sign up to support me there and keep us doing what we do out here on the road. We really appreciate all of our supporters over there. We're over 11,000 now. And so thank you very much for those who are supporting us either here on YouTube or over there. If you'd like to donate, there's a link tree in the description of this video. You can click on that and that'll take you to links to my PayPal, my Venmo, Cash App, whatever. So again, let's just go down very quickly and then I'll go. This is the area where the president went down, right just across the border from Armenia. And that looks like this in that area. This is what those mountains look like. This was in the fall, so it was a little drier than it is now. Now it's greener than that. This is what the fog looks like as it rolls in there. Thank you very much, One Tired Mama. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you being on and such a loyal supporter. One of these days, you're going to need to come with us to Armenia and get to see this for yourself. This is what the rescue looked like. That's the helicopter he was on. And so the president of Iran, President Raisi, has now basically been confirmed to be dead. And so we'll pray for those who grieve, and we'll pray that this sudden change in leadership will result in more freedom for the Iranian people. There are many Iranians here in Armenia who have fled the country of their birth because of the oppression there. And maybe in the next day or two, I'll get a chance to talk to some of them and get their reaction to this. So we'll see what happens. All right. God bless you all. I've got to get going. Thank you very